He had a keyboard he was trying to produce or whatever. This is before, like, you know, I had nothing, no interest in music to pursue it or anything like that. So he actually made me and my brother, who was 5 years younger, so I was 10, he was 5, do this like demo CD type of thing. It's real like cheesy, but it was cool. Like, we got a package and everything, so we used to rehearse like in the dining room and, you know, perform at like block parties in New York and stuff. We actually recorded it in this studio in New York, and that's when I first started like co-writing more so. But it wasn't my idea. Like, that was totally him, and he kind of just convinced me that I wanted to do it. Then when I was like 15, my dad wanted to get this keyboard for himself, right? And he knew that if I wanted it, I could probably get my mom to get it, right? So he convinced me that producing was what I wanted to do. And I'm just like, and then he just talking. And then eventually I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do it, right? So instead of doing like a Sweet 16 or whatever, I told my mom, like, instead of doing that next year, like, you know, I want this keyboard. It was like a $5,000 keyboard. She got it for me. And I started making beats, and it was just fun, you know. I was just doing it for myself and in the walls of my bedroom, and I didn't really tell anybody. And then I just started like putting like little videos on YouTube, like little free, like 16 bars here and there. And then I started college at 17. It was just tiring, you know what I mean? So by the time I got home, I wasn't really doing as much as I was before. Like, my last year in college, I was kind of prepping for what am I going to do afterwards, and I kind of decided, like, all right, I'm going to just do a project and just put it out there and stop being a chicken. That's how Masturbate came about, so.
Okay, so tell me, why did you name the EP Masturbate?
That's a good question, so I'm going to throw it back at you. So why do you think I named it? Or what would you guess as to why I named it?
So my like, take from it, I think listening to it from top to bottom, in the beginning you address like the doubt that you've had and the doubt you've had within yourself about actually releasing something, and then as you go through, it's kind of you spewing out into the world what you've been through, what's happened, how you feel, different things that, you know, you address. So in my perception, it's a release. As much as like Masturbate is a release in a certain form or fashion, like, that's what I take from it.
Word. So
I don't know though.
No, that was definitely a good interpretation.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily wrong. It's definitely something, not necessarily different, but a kind of slightly different way to look at it. But similarly, like, when you masturbate, like, you please yourself. And like, about my dad and stuff, like, I was kind of looking to him for like that assurance and, you know, that stamp of approval. So, you know, when I actually sat down and told myself, like, okay, I'm going to do this for me, really. Like, I'm not really going to look for anybody to tell me it's okay to put out a tape, you're good enough to do this, or, you know, nobody's going to give me the green light. So it's just taking that initiative and pleasing yourself. And that's with anything. Like, anybody could masturbate. You know, I say masturbate daily. You should always live and make sure that you're doing what you want to do. Of course, you got to make sacrifices, but for the most part, you got to stay true to, like, you know, yourself, and make sure that you follow your path and follow what's inside. Yeah, whatever pleases yourself. So this is like my self-pleasure. Like, I did what I wanted to do. I always kind of wanted to do it, but was too scared to do it. So yeah, boom, man. But once it was done, it's weird, because as an artist, like, you're always going to be hard and critical about your own work. So it was that element, but at the same time, I was like, all right, sometimes I have those moments like, I'm about to kill the game, you know what I mean? I'll have those type of moments too. But I was really relieved, you know, once I was able to get it out, because there were a lot of like obstacles or stones that kind of like came in the way. It feels good to know that when you do what you feel like you want to do, like, things happen for you, you know. And that's why I kind of do stress, even with my friends, like, to kind of, yeah, I know you got to get a job and you got to make things happen, you got to live, you have to eat, you have to survive. It costs. It even costs money to create, you know. But at the same time, like, don't sacrifice what you feel like you were put on this earth to do, you know, or whatever desire you have. Like, don't sacrifice that.
Now,
Manifest.
did you make the project in an intention of making a project, or did you find that songs are kind of coming together?
Good question. So I pretty much was just writing, and you know, the songs that I like the best I would record. A couple songs that I did record like didn't get put on the tape because it just didn't really fit well, you know, with the whole vibe of the project. So it wasn't like, okay, I started off with a name. Like, I knew like 2 years ago, like I wanted to do a project and call it Masturbate. I knew that, but I had no clue what it would sound like or anything. But as I started recording and as I got beats and as the vibes came, then I was like, okay, this won't work, this will work. So Worst Day Ever, like, that was like the storytelling track, you know what I mean? The first verse definitely was my experience, like that's what happened, you know. A second verse wasn't more so my experience personally, but experiences that I know my friends have dealt with, and just a lot of women and even men sometimes at some point in their life, you know, go through some type of situation like that, unfortunately. So I wanted to kind of, with that song, I wanted to kind of show how easy it is for somebody to lose faith in God, you know. Like, I went to a Catholic school and my grandmother is like super duper Christian, and you know, I have family members who kind of are, you know, follow Islam and stuff, you know. I have a lot of those influences, but still it's kind of like there are certain questions that just don't sit well with me, or haven't in the past. And I chose those stories to kind of show, like, this is how somebody can lose faith, you know. So that's where the inspiration came from. But the stories itself, like, I narrated the second verse, and I didn't want to do like a, oh, she said, he said, you know. I didn't want to, even though it's not something that I've experienced personally, I didn't want to kind of, you know, come off like that, or express it that way. And I felt like me expressing it from my point of view, as if it was me, it would kind of be more so of a, first of all, anybody would kind of assume that that's happened to me, first of all. So it's kind of like, okay, you never know. If that did happen to me, and it's your first time hearing the song or knowing about me, even some friends, you know, I showed the track to some friends and they're like, did that really happen? You know, and that just makes it so much easier to kind of think like, okay, you don't know what the next person's been through, you know, or their struggle or whatever makes them seem mean or aggressive or whatever. You don't know, you know. So we should just be very careful sometimes before judging somebody. There's a lot of things with Worst Day Ever that comes up, but I definitely wanted to create a story that I know that a lot of females would be able to latch on to and kind of feel like, okay, I know that I'm not alone, even if it hasn't, something to that level didn't happen to me. But overall, one thing that I've learned or been able to notice, or something that I can take away from the experience of creating Masturbate, was that for future songs, I definitely want to get into like musicality more and make better music as a whole, as opposed to like coming off just as a rapper, like somebody rapping over tracks, you know what I mean? All in all, like, what I want people to kind of open their eyes about when they listen to my music or just hear me speak, or even if we chop it up just, you know, on some regular combo type of stuff, I want people to kind of realize that you can do what you want to do, you know. It is possible. But of course, just listening to the project, you may not get that overall, but as an artist, I think that's what I want to put out into the universe, just to get people to realize that, you know, you should be more confident than anything. Like, self-doubt is going to kill you, and once you reach that point, it's going to be so hard to build yourself back up and get that confidence to continue building on whatever dream you have. So just like, don't let self-doubt get in the way, because I did, you know, for years, and now that it's out the door, like, I'm good. Of course I have my moments, you know, but for the most part, like, I'm very confident in where I want to be and where I'm going.
I wish I had a fairy godmama who could turn my Jeep into a Hummer. Rubbing the engine all summer.